What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Big Brother Live Chats right here on CBS Connect. With me, as always, the latest evicted house guest. This week, Jenn City.
Yeah, baby. No, baby.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow, you're pretty
baby,
excited to be here, Jenn.
Well, you know, I like hearing you say Jenn City, that works for me. Being here doesn't really work for me, but it's so nice to meet you.
And we're going to get into it. Every week, we take questions from the audience, and they go right to you.
Okay.
Limited, of course, because you're still part of this game.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You're still going to vote on that winner come next week.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
speaking of weeks, it's been one crazy week in the Big Brother house.
As always, it seems.
Double evictions.
Yeah. The double
eliminations
evictions.
on Wednesday. What's up?
Oh, man. That surprise eviction coming out of nowhere really was just, it was a lot. It was a long, tough week for your girl here.
I know.
And, you know, here I am. Saturday.
First of all, I think a lot of people want to know, how are you feeling? I mean, you took that slop.
I did.
Way to go.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. I took a slop for the summer, as many of you know, and I really took that as a game move. I knew a lot of people would give me a ton of respect out of that. I'm a big girl. I can handle a big change in my diet, so I was like, let's roll with this. Let's do this. Let's show everybody that I'm here to play the game.
And you did it, you know, you kept it classy.
Yeah.
You didn't complain about it. I didn't hear you complaining about it. You took it like a champ.
Yeah, you know, the third or fourth day, you could definitely feel your body readjusting to the diet. And I felt tired, you know what I mean? I felt way more tired than usual, which was really weird because usually I feel like, high energy. And I was just like, oh, man. I mean, I felt like I could have slept for 2 days straight. But I was catching on, and then, you know, in our house it was different. We had Chef Joe, of course, cooking up all these meals. And,
were his meals great?
His meals were pretty good,
He said
man.
he left you a little treat, some frozen.
Yeah, he did. He left me this huge bag of, my favorite were like these mustard-style slop burgers, if you will, that he made. And,
he was creative with it, huh?
Yeah, he was very creative. And then I started being more creative. I made these taco seasoning style burgers with mustard in it, and I started cooking up stuff and cookies. I made tater tots. I fried it up at one point, and it was actually really good. Yeah, there was different things to just try to change it up, even if it looked different on the plate. I mean, it was a big difference. But I started getting to the rhythm, like everybody.
Yeah, you gotta be creative.
Yeah, you gotta be creative. And when people were sitting down having dinner, that's when I would go work out, so I didn't have to necessarily.
You couldn't look at
it was just hard to look at.
But you gotta be creative. People don't know. You could put certain condiments inside your slop to make it change up, so it's not always tasting like. Oh, so what does it taste like? Do you just oatmeal basically?
Yeah, basically it's very, very bland oatmeal. Just very with nothing in it. It's just like, you know, it's not that it tastes bad. It's just really bland.
And how long were you on it from?
Oh, God. I think I was on it for like 17 to 18 days.
Oof. Yeah, 8 was the longest for me, and I was getting cranky pants. I was getting crazy pants.
I had a good rhythm going on, and I had to stay focused on what the prize was.
Right.
And
well, you did what you had to do.
Yeah, so
you did what you had to do.
That's
did you eat something special you want to tell somebody? Did you get some good food in your stomach?
Yeah, I actually, right when I walk out of the house, I see Julie.
Julie with the peanut butter and
jelly sandwich. I was beside myself when she handed that to me. I was just like, oh my God, can I eat it now? I mean,
somebody wanted to know, was it crunchy or was it creamy?
It was creamy, actually. It was creamy. Crunchy, creamy. I would not care. I almost wanted to wear it on my face. I was so excited to see it.
Well, let's get into gameplay. Enough about food.
Okay,
I'm happy you're back and feeling better. You know
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But to kick things off right away, Sheila wants to know, Jenn, right off the bat, why didn't you try to out Dan? Or why didn't you try to out Dan, you know, when you were talking to Ian, why didn't you try to out Dan? You know, when you were going to go on the block instead of...
Well, I did talk to Ian about it. I talked to him twice about it.
And did you out, were you saying like, Dan wanted you out?
Yeah, I was like, you know, yeah, Dan is coming for you, obviously, because he just put, you know, when Dan won that short time of being HOH, you know, I was like, obviously Dan wanted you, he wanted to get Ian out of the house. He was the main target. And of course, when he won that veto with the maze, it was like, okay, it's a wrap. Now, when Ian won head of household, I told him, I was like, look, you know, Dan is still sitting here in the house. I haven't come after you in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
You know, he wasn't interested.
So you did try to make that move.
Yes, I did try to make that move.
Okay.
So I was like, look, you know, I don't know, you know, what was aired and what wasn't, but I said, hey, look, I was like, I'm not coming after you. I've never come after you in this game. as far as he knew.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of course I was, you know, if I won HOH, it was everything in my power to get him out, because I saw Ian as being so dangerous, because a lot of these games coming up next, I knew he was going to be really great at, be more tailored to, more mental.
So he would be your first target if you won that last HOH?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. I did want to get Shane out of the house. I was really upset with Dan when it was that double evict, and he threw up Danielle, and the last second conversation him and I had was, he goes, are you ready to get rid of Boy Toy? And I said, yes, we got to get, like, here's a chance. Oh, Frank just walked out the door. Here's a great chance to get, you know, another really strong competitor who we may or may not be able to beat. You know, so let's roll. Like, let's be smart about this. But in the second I left the room, Danielle freaked out. And then, you know, as we all know, when I saw her go up on the block, I could have literally wrang his neck. I was like, what are you thinking in doing this?
You should have.
Harm. But, you know, I was really upset, but I did go to Ian, and I knew Ian was not interested in working out any sort of deal with me. This guy really wanted to get me out of the house. I guess he really felt I was that big of a threat to him.
Maybe.
I mean, he just really wanted me out of the house.
It seemed like, you know, you were fighting at the end, and, like, obviously you went on slop, and you started making moves with that POV. You know what I mean? That you were fighting. It kind of seemed like I thought you would have a little more fight into getting Ian to switch his vote, not putting you up on the block.
Well, absolutely, but he just...
Not his vote, his nomination.
His nomination, but the thing is, like, right before the eviction, I found out that Ian was like, you know, Dan's like, I'm voting for Jenn to stay, and he was like, that's fine. He was like, but she's going home anyway. And Dan's thinking, oh, if I vote Dan, then he's got something else to deal with. I leave the house, and then Danielle's going to be upset with him about, you know what I mean?
Holy cow! I played the game, and I'm confused.
You know that, you know, he still wants to keep Danielle close with him, and he was like, you know, she finds out I voted against her, it's going to be bad for me. And I was just like, you know, at that point I was like, you know, Ian was trying to tell me the story of, like, he wants to split up the couple, and at the last second I was like, this is a crap story, and this guy just wants me out of the house.
I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, it's been a crazy week, and I'm already confused. So, iPope66 wants to know, what do you think of Dan's funeral?
Oh, yeah, I was immediately skeptical going into the funeral. I mean, Brittany's trying to hand me tissues, and I'm just like, oh, I'll keep that for later if I sneeze. You know what I mean? I knew it was gameplay, what he was doing. He was 24 hours by himself. He was cooking up something, being in that room with crazy music going on for 24 hours. And he felt that Danielle didn't throw the veto, as they had previously agreed to. So he said, you know, he had set this all up. I knew immediately it was gameplay that was going on.
Right.
And even Danielle's come to me, well, you know something, da, da, da. And I was like, I don't know anything. Yeah, I was just like, I couldn't believe that he threw her under the bus like that. I said, he's doing that to make you seem untrustworthy to the whole entire house. But there's another reason for it. And while she was crying and everything, like maybe 15, 20 minutes later, I go see her. We called it Skid Row, the room with all the sneakers in the room.
Right.
So she's in there with Brittany, and then she asked Brittany if Brittany could leave for just a moment. And then I go to Danielle. I was like, is there something you want to tell me? And then it's like the tears all went away real quick. And she was like, Dan thinks I didn't throw the veto. And I was like, oh, okay, now we're going to start getting to the nitty-gritty of what's really going on. So maybe she did know what was going on. You know, Danielle's a pretty good little actress, so, you know.
I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
Let's take the next one. Young Swag 92 wants to know, what do you think the biggest move you made in the Big Brother house? What was your biggest move?
The biggest move was certainly being stoic up there and putting that, giving Dan the power of veto, putting that necklace around him. I mean, I was letting Beast run around freely in the house and making that move.
You sure were.
And I was hoping at that time that would just work out in my favor, as in people would just really be so upset of the shenanigans that he had just pulled off and just be really, like, hating on Dan, you know. So that would just kind of, you know, leave me unscathed, hopefully, a bit. But he did return the favor and pull me off the block as well when I was up, so...
And you made a good point. You even said in the episode, you know, some of your people that you trusted did go home, so you had to put your trust in somebody else, you know, making a move like that.
Yeah, making a move like that. And, you know, Dan, to me, is definitely the dangerous player still in the game.
And why not try to make a gesture to align with that player,
absolutely. Right? It's like, you know, it's just that saying, you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And that's really where I was coming from. And I was like, all right, him and I had completed a circle of trust, if you will, with each other, and I was like, I could have this guy fighting for me instead of against me, you know. It was really my plan at the time.
Where are you in that circle of trust now?
I feel
somewhere around
somewhere near it.
Do you regret using that power of veto?
Absolutely not. I have no regrets. I mean, I took slop for the summer. There was no way I wasn't going to make some sort of move with such having that necklace on, having such an important power to maybe use it or not. And listen, I was really close with Danielle in the house. You know, it took a lot of conversations. It took, you know, me talking to Frank a lot, speaking with Dan, and of course Danielle sealed the deal for me and saying, she's like, keep my on the block. I said, okay, you know, if this is how we want to do it, this is how we want to do it. And I, you know, let the beast run free in the house. And then he did pull me off the block the next week, which was actually pretty good because I don't know. I mean, between Frank and I, one would think Frank was the main target, but who knows who really the target was that week.
I don't know. You love that song, huh? That's the only song you could sing.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Craig wants to know, what are you going to miss most about the Big Brother house, besides the Big Brother theme song?
Besides humming the Big Brother theme song, because that was the only thing to hum, what will I miss? I got the hot tub. I love the hot tub. Me and that hot tub was, you know, I live in Brooklyn. There's not a lot of hot tubs necessarily in Brooklyn. I just moved into a new apartment with this, and I have my own huge backyard, believe it or not.
Really?
And I'm seriously considering purchasing a hot tub. I love the hot tub, and I love not having to buy groceries for the week. I thought that was pretty great.
That is pretty nice. I
was like, all right, I don't have to buy groceries. You know, I get to, you know, I can wash my own clothes. All right. I mean, the shower situation, you know, sharing the bathroom, you get used to it. I was cutting everybody's hair. I had serious hair appointments on Thursdays. I was a very busy young lady. Yeah, I would say the hot tub is what I'm going to miss the most, hands down.
All right. Isn't it crazy, like, thinking back, because there was only 5 people left in the house,
Yeah, that was only 5 people.
So imagine when you first started that show. Could you even imagine all those people in that house, like, thinking back?
Danielle and I were talking about it while I was still there. I mean, we were just like, can you believe that there was so many people in the house? I mean, everywhere you turn, there's this conversation going on, whether it was scheming or laughing or whatever.
It blows your mind looking back, like, when you get that far, because I went out 5th my first time too.
Okay.
You know, but I was I can't imagine all these, you know, all these people in the house, and you guys had more.
We had even more. God, that's right, we did. We had the most.
Yeah, so when you go back to your place in Brooklyn, you're gonna be like, hello?
Oh, no, no bright lights, no one singing me. Sweet.
You walk around.
Yeah, I might forget about the song by then, but we'll see.
All right, speaking of things that you might miss in the house, let's talk about Shane's puka shells. Are you gonna miss
311 call. They want the puka shells back.
Okay, great. Bravo. Another player gets it. Some people don't know what those were or even notice Shane's puka shells.
Okay, so the deal is Shane...
Good segue, by the way, with the question.
Shane wore these, you'll see it in the show, obviously, these little white shells. I remember them 91, 92, I do believe. Good 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
311's Down was out and popular and all that good stuff. A completely different era.
So you did notice?
Oh, I noticed very much. I actually helped dress him before he went to see the whole Olympian and gymnastic thing. I dressed him before he left because I saw what he was wearing and I was like, you know, Shane, that's just not going to work, my dude.
And how about his whole manscaping routine, too?
He was very serious about it. I mean, I would hear him sneezing or coughing in the bathroom. I'm like, yo, are you okay? And he's like, oh, I'm just, you know, he always picking his nose hairs, always naring his chest.
Shane, man.
I mean, Shane, I love you, man, but my goodness, I think he might have shaved more than me.
Dude, I swear I give it to Shane every week on this poor show.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, we give it to him a little bit, and then it's starting to build up. People have some problem with the K-Swiss or whatever's going on with his white shoes.
Well, that's the thing. Is like when he left he wanted to wear those white shoes, and he's wearing these jeans that just, I don't know what era they were from either. But it was the white shoes were not working. Sorry, Shane.
All right, let's get off Shane.
All right, sorry.
So no regrets at all in the house?
I really don't have. The only regret I do have is earlier on, I wish I had set up different alliances early on in the game. You know, when
who would you
I would you know,
because you laid it low. You played really quiet,
you know,
which I think is a great strategy. A lot of people like to see the action. I wish I could play and just go back and just keep it low,
right?
Keep it cool, because you have a great personality for that. You know,
I appreciate that. that was, in walking into the game, I didn't tell anybody anything about my career. I didn't want them to know that I came from, you know, a platinum selling band and all this. That was the last thing I wanted them. Yeah, that was the last thing I wanted them to know, because that could be something that could send me out the door.
Did I just embarrass myself when I did that?
Yeah, I just like that was you playing bass.
I felt like a huge. I felt like I was wearing puka shells when I did that.
No,
sorry about that.
You're good. But you know, there were certain things that I certainly kept to myself, because I was like, man, if they find out this and this and this, that could actually send me out the door, and that is not what I want. And I really worked on my social game, and maybe not in large groups, but I would break people off in like 2s or 3s or 1, and just really, people love talking about themselves, so I would just be very inquisitive about them and where they came from and their family and what they do, what they might do, what they might not do, trying to figure some stuff out. So I just, you know, I was really myself, like people called me the cool rocker chick, and I just went out there and just really tried to understand everyone a bit, and I did that for my own game too, because I was like, oh, it's going to get harder and harder to want to throw me up on the block because they like me so much.
So who would you have lined with early on?
Earlier on, I definitely would have
changed things.
You know, I would have loved for Will to have stayed longer, but his mouth and his porcupine lies is definitely what got him out of the house. I mean, I would have hooked up with Dan far earlier in the game. Danielle, Shane, Brittany was one of my favorite players this season. I thought she had a really great social game. And I would have definitely had, you know, I would have loved to keep working with Frank, but he was just such a big target in the house that it was like you could be guilty by association.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
And I felt like that happened to me definitely here in the game too. You know, a little.
What if it came down to the final two and it was Will's hair versus Frank hair? Who would you vote for?
Man, Will's hair by far. Will's hair by far, man.
Me too. I'd have to give him the $500,000 hair prize.
I would. I wouldn't think twice about it. Will put so much more work into his hair than Frank. That's what would get me.
All right. What was your first impression of Frank and Ian when Boogie picked you to be on his team?
Wow. I will never forget when Boogs completed the whole team. I was like, look at us. What a quirky, Motley Crue looking people. But I was like, it was a great pick with Frank. I knew he was going to be physical, and who knew that there was some smarts up there as well. Ian, I knew, was definitely more mental, and even in the quick conversations and being on the mattress with the guys, I knew he was awkward. And with me, I was such a wild card, you know, I'm sure Boogie was like, okay, here we go, we're going to go with this.
Boogie's defense, I think he picked a great team. He had a big range of obvious players.
Yeah,
you know?
He really did. I mean, he had the physical, who ended up, you know, being a really good mental as well. And then he had the more strong mental player, who, the wild card, who ended up having who was good socially, could kind of help, you know, between Frank and I, we could help Ian and kind of protect him in the sense of his social. He was just so awkward, especially when he came in the house. I mean, that first night, he's completely sweated out his side of the bed when he was sleeping next to Joe.
Oh, you're so excited,
I mean, he was just so stoked. I mean, been watching the show since he was like 9 years old. I mean, I totally get it. But he was so awkward, just pacing back and forth constantly, kind of hanging out in the bathroom a little too long when the ladies were showering. Just weird stuff that it was like we had to pull him aside and be like, look, you can't do that. There was a couple of times where like he had the duck on his head during nominations. Later on, I took that duck and hung it off of his key, and I was like, do you understand why I did this? I was like, you can't. It sucks someone getting nominated. You know, you haven't felt that yet, but trust me, you will. And to make a joke in that moment.
Have you seen a change from him from day one till now?
Yeah, he's definitely been far more aware. I mean, he still is awkward, but he's become more confident. I'll give him that.
Absolutely. Who in the house has the most annoying habit, and what was it?
Woo!
Too many?
There was a lot, but the most annoying, it was Danielle always looking in the mirror. She'll be talking to you, and then, you know how the mirrors are. Then it's like, you know, talking to you, and then looking in the mirror, talking to you. And I
have a buddy who does that.
I would bust her out on it sometimes. But
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, well, only she'll be talking to me, and then
they're always checking out themselves.
Checking out the mirror. I'm like, you looked the same for 5 seconds ago. What happened? What is different?
So that was
annoying. And she's not the only one guilty. Ian is absolutely guilty of it. He always, if we were talking about something, he would somehow reference it to himself. He's like, well, I think the line of season was me saying, oh, get to stepping. I was like, someone else said that line, and you reused it. Like, you know. It's so funny because, I mean, we're all obviously picked to be on the show because we all think highly of ourselves in some way, shape, or form.
No.
No, get out of here. And I think that I think that some people are far more conceited than others. I'll just say that.
All right, well, let's leave it at that.
All right, fair.
All right, Mira wants to know, who do you think will be evicted next?
Ooh.
I mean, this is it. Like,
I know
this is it.
This is really it. I think I'm going to be really surprised. I mean, if Dan walks, into the jury house, I mean, there's going to be guns blazing for him when he walks in there, I'll tell you that. But I don't know if he's going to be the one. I personally would like to see Ian walk in, but I don't think I'm going to see Ian walk through the door. I think it'll either be Dan or Danielle.
Yeah?
I don't know why. I'm strictly going off a hunch.
Okay, and then who do you think's going to win it? Dan's shirt or Ian's shirt? The Tulane versus the Ohio Red shirt?
Yeah, right. Michigan shirts. Michigan.
Sorry.
Oh, my
Michigan.
goodness.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Oh, you didn't say that.
I think I should get it down because he wears it every show. I should have it down.
I mean,
by
the
now.
guy only had like four. Honestly, he had like 4 shirts, and that was. I mean,
he wanted to represent.
He wanted to represent.
But seriously, who do you think has the best shot to take this whole thing?
It's honestly, in all seriousness, it's between Ian and Dan. I really feel that it could really come down to those two guys, with the Shane being a wild card.
So if one of them make it past this week, you think it's...
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I do.
Ooh,
I do,
so
I know, it's
so
crazy,
exciting.
it's crazy.
Harold wants to know, will you write a song about your time on Big Brother?
Actually, I've already begun just starting to write, which is, when I got to Jury House, I was lucky enough to have a guitar there, so I was already working on some stuff prior. I have an album that's going to be coming out in just a couple weeks. I just got to get home, finish recording my guitar and vocals. Everything else is recorded. It's called Out for Blood, so you can.
So your band's like, Jen, what's going on, man? Could you hurry up?
It's no Jenn City, and Out for Blood will be out. I'm hoping within probably a month and a half's time frame.
It's solo?
Yes, my solo album. Finally, my own solo album. It's called Jenn City. I have the band already in order. We're good. We're ready to rock.
Where did the name Jenn City come from?
I used to be the resident DJ at the famous L'Amour's rock club in Brooklyn, New York, and the owner of the club. One night, the AC went down. It was the middle of summer. It was steaming hot, and I left the booth and I just went outside to get some fresh air. And I dressed up that night, whatever. And he was like, "Oh, look at Jen, looking like a wilted exotic flower. That Jenn City." And everyone's like, "Oh my God!"
And it kind of just stuck.
And it absolutely stuck. Yeah.
And then you just brought it into the Big Brother house.
Yes, I brought it into the Big Brother house, and then everything became Segment City or Competition City or Fart City or whatever. Everything became city oriented.
Do you got any kind of tunes that you could bust out about the Big Brother song? You got just a line?
Not yet. I'm gonna hold on tight to that. You guys are gonna just have to wait and see.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's all right. Use it.
Yeah,
use it.
That's what I'm saying. You guys are. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, well, are you going to give it to us or not?
No.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, well, then we'll take the next question. Aubrey wants to know, what was your favorite challenge that you competed in this season?
Actually, the OTab. I really enjoyed that one. It was a lot of fun because you did have to remember particular things about the house guests, and it was kind of a luck of the draw if you could find that corn or if you couldn't. Mm-hmm. And I really loved the questions. I liked it being kind of a wild shot of being able to find it and run around and be like, ah, and then just being able to climb back up. I really enjoyed that competition.
They did something a little different this year, I noticed, because I've played in that competition as well, and I would just get a running start and launch myself up that ramp. But this year you had to go under this thing, which made it a lot more difficult.
It definitely made it a lot more difficult, and I'll tell you this, it had been sitting out there for a while, this hot, syrupy goo, and when you hit it, it was like, and you were like, oh my God, it's so hot. It was so hot, but your adrenaline's going so fast that it didn't really matter.
I did that. Let's talk about me for a second.
Yeah, let's do it.
I was being a jackass, and I put the Vito on, and I burnt my back because it was so hot. I was like rolling down, but yeah, it gets hot out there. But it's amazing what they do with that backyard. Isn't it crazy?
Unbelievable. The competitions, the sets this year were just out of this world.
Crazy.
Just really out of this world.
And the time to get it done, but it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so how many tattoos do you have? That's what Jennifer wants to know.
Okay, well, Jennifer, I have 42 tattoos. Some you can see and some you can't.
Oh. Speaking of tattoos, I had to mention this. I mentioned it a little to Jen earlier in the show. My 4-year-old niece watches this show. She doesn't really understand what's going on, but Jen is her favorite player because her favorite animal is the leopard. And when Jen got evicted last night, she started crying.
Oh, well,
poor Macy.
Yeah, Macy.
Tell her you're okay. And the leopards of the world are okay.
The leopards and I of the world were A-okay, and I send you a big hug and a kiss.
Oh, she's going to love that.
Thank you so much.
She's going to be happy. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Now
my
back to the
pleasure.
show.
Okay, back to the show.
All right, Rebecca wants to know, what is your favorite memory from being in the house?
I mean, I definitely have a few. That was
in caps. Did you realize that?
Okay, all right. Now
Instead
I
of doing
do.
this, it's this.
I love it. I love it. One of my favorite memories was it was a lazy Sunday, and we were all out. Every single one of us was outside in the backyard, and it was pretty chill, you know what I mean? And we were just, almost all of us were in the pool playing volleyball with each other, and it was like, we were just truly just enjoying each other as people, and it's really one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, when everybody's getting along.
Yeah, when everybody was getting along, and whoever was up was up. Nobody was acting funky. It was just like everything was just nice and chill, and we were all genuinely enjoying each other's company. That was one of my favorite moments because we just had a blast that day. I remember from top to bottom. We were all outside and just all playing games or whatever in the pool. It was just it was just a really great vibe in the air.
How does this compete? Because you've done some great things with your band, and you've done some great things in life. How does Big Brother compare on that level?
You know, this happened to me. I could not come at a more perfect time in my life. It was such a random thing, a random email to get, and I am so beyond grateful for this experience. I never dreamed that I could be away from my phone and my instruments and my studio and my family and loved ones for this long with no communication. I was sure that was something I couldn't do without like mentally breaking down. And
then not eating at the end of it.
And then not eating at the end of it, my goodness. And to be able to survive all that and to do that, and I have such respect for the game. It was just a complete
How did it
honor.
feel? How did it feel seeing your mom on that video?
It took me immediately out of the game and into the living room, and I just wanted to hold her and hug her. And
I bet. I know the emotions get you.
Yeah,
they
get you. I mean, I went in the arcade room and cried for about an hour to myself just because I was just so happy she looked good. And, you know, my mother's a cancer survivor. So, you know, that's right, baby. And to see that she looked good, she put some weight on, and just,
that's good.
And that she was so proud, you know what I mean? Of like, it's just, she's had a wild trip with me, you know what I mean? And just to see how proud she was, and you know, you do what you do, and it was just, it took me out of it for a minute, and put me, threw me back in the game, and it's a whirlwind, guys. I mean, you really can't understand unless you are a player in the house.
Truly,
you can watch it. You can watch it and be the biggest fan in the world, and I love you for that. But it's so much different being in the house. And
but the
you
good,
know that.
and the good thing that I always tell everybody is like, your family's watching you.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard on yourself because you can't see them, but they're watching you. They're proud of you, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. You played a great game, very classy, kept it classy. So I'm sure your mom's very proud.
Well, I appreciate that coming from you because you're one of my favorite players. So thank you.
I didn't keep it as classy as you did. I might have slipped up here and there.
I know, but you were. I just really enjoyed watching you. So thanks.
All right. Well, would you do it again if asked back?
You know, depends on what was happening in my life at the time, but I am like 90% sure I would go back and do it again.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
From not wanting to do it, it's kind of like a weird addiction.
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of like, because you know, like I was talking to Brittany, and it's like you know what you're doing again, and you're so much more aware. Of course, you know, if you were to go back in a second time.
Oh yeah, I think that makes a big difference.
No, it's a huge difference.
I think it does, but
you know, but I mean, who would know? But I mean, if it was to ever happen, it would be a great honor to be asked, and I would heavily consider it. Heavily.
Got to see what's going on in Jenn City's rock life first.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would really have to weigh what was going on in my life.
All right, Jenn, last question. Jessica wants to know, do you guys keep notes on everything that happens? Like, how do you guys remember everything for those competitions?
Oh, man, it's tough. I mean, that's the tough part, especially that one last situation. You had to guess what day this and that happened, and you're just kind of like, I'm just happy I got through today. But one thing I would do is I would kind of work backwards. I would remember, you know, I would remember what I'm like, oh, hey, today's day 65, right? Great. And I would just kind of work backwards. That's what really worked for me.
Well, people don't know, like, you're in there, you have nothing to do, so you're like, when something happens on a day, on 24, you're like, that happened on day 24.
Exactly.
So you kind of put it in your brain.
Yeah, because there's no calendars, you can't write anything down, so you have so much time. You have so much free time to, pardon me, not to really do anything, or you know, locked in or what have you. You know, there's a lot of free time for you to go over what happened or particular things. And what else are you going to really think about?
Nothing. I mean, you guys are watching 3 times a week. Other than that, we're locked in there
living it,
all 60, 70 days. So,
yeah.
But again, thank you so much, Jenn City. You kept
so
it classy.
much. I appreciate that.
I wish you would have burned it down.
Oh, man! If I ever get a chance again, I will burn it down.
All right,
but,
well, thanks for keeping it classy all season. You were a pleasure to watch. Best of luck to you.
Much.
And you're still part of this game. We'll see you again in one more week.
Absolutely,
to
you
vote
will.
on the big winner.
That's it. And it's a big deal. It's a big decision. So, yeah, I look forward to making that decision.
All right, well, thanks for stopping by, guys. Thanks for tuning in. You know we have another show coming up. Don't want to say too much. But we'll see you guys next time. Look forward to watching Big Brother.
Yeah, baby. Come on. Much love.
I felt like when I did this, I did that. Later, guys.
Bye, guys.